Hey everyone, thanks for jumping back into the Cryptoverse. Today we're going to be talking about Ethereum and we're going to be looking at daily price changes, both the magnitude of that price change as well as the percentage. If you guys like this content, please subscribe to the channel and turn your notifications on, and check out the Telegram and Discord channel in the description below. So again, like I said, we're going to be looking at Ethereum. This is the daily price change as a function of time. So you can pretty quickly tell that we started off seeing daily price movements of around, it started off at around $1 actually, and dropped down to as low as 1/1000th of a dollar. And we then went on a fairly impressive run in terms of the amount of, or at least the magnitude of price change in a day, and getting up to the point where in 2017, 2018, we were seeing price changes on a day corresponding to over 200, almost $300. Whereas in 2016, the price changes in a single day were fractions of a penny. So it actually Ethereum really had a really big run from 2015 through the end of 2018, or the end of 2017 and the beginning of 2018. And now you can see that since 2018, this daily price change has been going down throughout the entire year of 2018, and then in 2019, it's kind of fluctuated a bit. So it kind of had this bottom, maybe the first quarter of 2019. It picked back up throughout the middle of 2019, and then it's come back down. Now let's visualize this in a few different ways. So first, let's go ahead and put on some color so that we can better quickly visualize what's happening. And if you watch this similar video on Bitcoin, we talked about how it's interesting that the peak of this, with Bitcoin, the first peak that it had ended up becoming, the median or the average of the next cycle. So you can kind of see some similarities. Of course, the market cycles here are somewhat different, since Ethereum, its history is different than Bitcoin's. It was launched in, half a decade later than Bitcoin, and basically just went up for the first, 3 to 4 years of its life. So it is somewhat different. But you can see that, again, the color just corresponds to the daily price change. So there's nothing fancy about it. It's just so that you can quickly visualize things. Now what we're going to do is we're going to compare it to Bitcoin. So first, let's change the color axis to be numerically the same that we use for Bitcoin. So we change the color axis so it goes from like point or fractions of a penny or something all the way up to $2,500 a day. And this chart up here is what Bitcoin's chart looks like. And over here is Ethereum's chart. So you can see very similar beginnings for both coins in terms of what happened during that that first large run up. So you can see with Bitcoin, you can see it's all the way down here at around 10 to the minus 3, and it peaked at around $100 and then came back down before going on a new run. So Ethereum, same thing, starts up here, it comes down to around 10 to the minus 3, and then it goes all the way up to around $100 of volatility or price change in a single day. So kind of eerily similar, or there are eerie similarities between the history of these two coins, despite the fact that they are completely different from one another, and Ethereum was launched half a decade later. So I find that interesting, and you can see how the dark blue and the light blue and even the peak with the yellow, they're identical. And remember, the color scales, the color bars are also identical. So it's fairly interesting that it's worked out that way. And here we are for Ethereum. We're coming into 2020. It seems like this downtrend has stopped, and we're more in this phase where there is some volatility, but we're not seeing huge moves one way or another. And you can see that with Bitcoin, if you block out the right part of the screen, it would look essentially identical to Ethereum. And then you can see then what Bitcoin went on to do over the next 2 years. Now, clearly, this is not financial advice. We're not saying that Ethereum has to follow Bitcoin's path. But the idea that if you're watching this, I imagine you probably are an Ethereum bull and you are expecting it to be making some big moves. So I just wanted to highlight, the similarities between what Ethereum has done and what Bitcoin has done. And I know some people get discouraged because they think, it should already be going up. But you just have to have patience. If the bull run comes, then you're going to be one of those people that can look back on these times where there's really not a whole lot going on, and it was the people that got in during these times that are going to be, benefiting the most during these peaks. It's the people that get in, the pits of the bear market. That's just how it is. And it's funny too how quickly sentiment in the market can change. Right now a lot of people are really down on coin, just most every single coin. A year from now, that sentiment could be completely different. Things really move in the cryptocurrency markets. I think many people here have experienced it, going from super bearish one day. You'll see all the day traders or the people on TradingView who like to put up their analysis daily, and they just follow the market emotion. If things are going down, then they'll say, Bitcoin's going to $1,000, Ethereum's going to $20, all this sort of stuff that's complete nonsense. And then when the market starts going up, those same people who were predicting that it was going down to these figures that are way below what I think are realistically possible, they're also the same people that are saying it's going to 20,000 next month. So it's like, a lot of that is noise, and just tune it out. Like, if what you want to do is follow people to, basically just know what the sentiment in the market is, then yeah, you can read what they're talking about. But a lot of times there's really no rhyme or reason for the numbers they choose. And I even said this several months ago when Bitcoin was at 14,000, it was headed down, it went to 10,000. People were already calling for $1,000 Bitcoin. I get really frustrated with that kind of stuff, because if you scroll further back in their history, they were also calling for 20,000 Bitcoin in 2019. So that's just the emotions talking. And the purpose of this channel is to try to take emotions out of things and just look at macro level moves, but also key shifts in momentum. And one of the things we've talked about with Ethereum is that in the last market cycle, we noted that once Bitcoin held the 20-week moving average for several weeks in a row, Ethereum then had a massive run. And I've been saying this for a while. I think that once Bitcoin does hold the 20-week as support for an extended period of time, then we're going to see some really good moves in Ethereum. People ask me, besides Bitcoin, what am I most bullish on? And it's hands down Ethereum. It has the most developers of any project. There's so many different coins that use this as their platform. You have decentralized finance. You have all sorts of different things with Ethereum that are the bulk of the crypto space. And a lot of people, when you transact, when you trade various cryptocurrencies, you just think of, okay, well, how much is it in ETH? How much does that cost me in Ethereum? I just think it's actually one of the core components almost of cryptocurrency is Ethereum. So I would say Ethereum is one of the my most bullish coins for this next theoretical market cycle. And I think it starts with Bitcoin holding the 20-week moving average to start to see those moves. And I do think Ethereum is currently undervalued a good bit, and I could easily see it moving up, a few $100s, even this year, assuming Bitcoin is more or less stable, I think Ethereum will make really good moves with respect to Bitcoin over the course of the year. That doesn't mean that tomorrow, if we lose pace with Bitcoin, some people will say, "Oh, but you said no." We're talking about an entire year, so keep things in perspective. So enough of me rambling. Let's look at the daily percentage change. So instead of just looking at the magnitude, let's look at this. So this goes from negative 60% to 60%. Which only, we had to go that far just to cover a few of these data points early on. But for the most part, you can see that most data points are between negative 20 and 20%, and even more are clustered between, say, negative 10 and 10%. So this is daily price movements for Ethereum. Now, what if we compared this with Bitcoin? So if we were to put Bitcoin on the same chart, so you can see Ethereum are the red dots and Bitcoin the white dots, and this is just starting in, say, 2015. It's fairly obvious that Ethereum on average is more volatile, and that's not news to a lot of people, but at least this way gives you some means of quantifying it. So Ethereum, it really stretches itself out further to negative 20 to 20% of daily price percentage movements, whereas Bitcoin is more so between, say, negative 5 to 5%. And this is just one of those things that I think it's a nice visualization tool to really put in perspective what most people feel. You feel like those moves with Bitcoin tend to be smaller, but then when other coins move like Ethereum, they do tend to be bigger, and this is the clear evidence for it. Ethereum will likely get to the point where daily volatility approaches what Bitcoin sees, but it's probably another market cycle out. So imagine fast forwarding several more years, maybe daily volatility with Ethereum will reach current Bitcoin levels, and then daily volatility with Bitcoin will be even lower. Because I can guarantee you, the one thing I feel like I can likely guarantee is that cryptocurrency is not always going to be this volatile. It's eventually going to, for the coins that do make it, it's going to eventually stabilize to some degree. Otherwise, it's just, it won't ever really take hold the way most of us want it to. So I think now is the time of price discovery, and it's going to continue to be a price discovery thing for even maybe the next 1 to 2 decades. But eventually, we're not going to be seeing price movements of 20 to 30% in a day for most cryptocurrency assets. It's just likely going to those kind of gains are going to dwindle away. But that doesn't mean for the time being we can't continue to see that. So again, here I'm just putting percentage change for Ethereum, but on a log scale. So this is the magnitude of the percentage change because it's a log scale, and you can kind of see it's the peaks of daily percentage change are kind of decreasing as we move through time. But again, you can also see that, like Bitcoin, most of it is clustered between, say, 1 to 10% on daily price movements, and that's plus or minus 1 to 10%. So this is just, I hope this video is informative for people. I know I rambled a good bit, but I was just trying to address various questions or various things that I had seen people comment on, and some of the sentiment that people have right now with Ethereum and where it might be headed. So I hope you guys like this content, and if you want to discuss it further, check out the Telegram, Discord, and if you want access to more content, then check out my Patreon channel at patreon.com/intothecryptoverse. I think that'll wrap it up for this video, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.